This year, I think we'll see 1 million. The price of Bitcoin has been held down for a long time. We should have reached this point around 100,000 a few years ago, but FTX and other companies were really the ones who stole the $100,000 from Bitcoin in 2021, if you look at how much fraud they did. We were supposed to be there, but they took it away from us. Our main point is that we are moving toward a place where Bitcoin is very popular. That's the last thing to do. But first, there needs to be a change from the paper system to this new one. A lot of countries don't seem to be ready either. Besides that, I think this change will happen very quickly. It's not going to be decades away. Most likely, it will happen in the next 5 to 10 years. A bold prediction about Bitcoin by Samson Mow, the CEO of Jan3, called Bitcoin will finally reach $1 million, which has caused a lot of debate. A lot of people disagree with this prediction, pointing out things like the state of the global economy and rising geopolitical strife. But Mow says that these very things will help Bitcoin reach such high levels. Mow says that even a small problem with the banking system could make Bitcoin's price go up a lot. He thinks that this kind of chaos would expose the world's more than 8 billion people to the problems with the current financial system and could cause it to fail. Mow says that this trouble is most likely to start in the US bond market. The US bond market has been thought of as the best financial market in the world for a long time, but it is now more volatile than other asset classes. Mow imagines a situation in which people lose faith in the US government's ability to handle its huge debt, which causes the monetary system to quickly collapse and people scramble to find other options. In a recent interview with podcaster and journalist D.F. Fixon, he talked about the idea of hyper-Bitcoinization, the possibility that countries will accept Bitcoin, and his $1 million prediction. I think that hyper-Bitcoinization is going to happen anyway, we're just speeding it up. Some were dying from the weather. Some people couldn't pay their medical bills because they still had old bills which the hospital wouldn't take because they were afraid the old bills wouldn't be worth anything. To make that work for the whole world, though, we still need to get about 8 billion people to use Bitcoin, and we're not even close to being ready to do that. El Salvador is pretty well ready. They each have their own national pocket. They have some tools for learning. They teach kids about it in schools and have laws about Bitcoin. But some places aren't ready. We want to help with that and get Bitcoin used in some way right now so that they have a few years to move smoothly into Bitcoin as a sidetrack to fiat and be ready for when fiat really dies. We try to get people to adopt Bitcoin by giving them benefits that are in line with Bitcoin, and this fits with digging in general. There isn't a way for them to get to their extra energy, and many developing and poor countries around the world have a lot of untapped energy sources. They also don't have the money to build hydro dams, geothermal plants, and other similar projects. We check to see what they need. Because they have extra energy that isn't being used, they could mine Bitcoin and pay for things with it if they need infrastructure like hospitals, airplanes, roads, or anything else. That's what we give to the government. We check with them to see what they need and what we can do to make the rewards work together. It's also possible that they want to get rid of flared gas sites because they have ESG goals. You can mine Bitcoin to do that. In this case, we just try to figure out all the puzzle parts that interest them and go from there. We don't talk about things like the hyper-Bitcoinization game, though, because I believe that countries are still made up of people at the end of the day. And governments can be bad if they have bad or weak people in charge, like Trudeau. And there are many cases of this. There are, however, good people in the government who want the best for the people they lead. But I think the part about Bitcoin being used is very important. And this is why a lot of us are so motivated to complete our mission around January 3rd. We can see Bitcoin changing the government and the relationship between the state and a citizen of the state. With Bitcoin, you're no longer just a tax slave, you're now someone who needs to be respected and listened to because they can't just take your stuff, right? No longer is it possible to make money. When there is inflation, money is printed in secret. A lot of people don't know this, but you can make money in two ways, directly or indirectly through inflation. You can directly tax people or tax them indirectly by making prices go up. With Bitcoin, you can't do that either. And most people would never agree with a lot of the bad policies that the government makes. There is a problem called ArriveCan in the United States too. People are calling it the Arrive scam right now. What is that? During COVID, they had an app where you had to mark as vaccinated and keep it up to date every time you entered or left Canada. Okay, great! They also spent $84 million on an app that did nothing more than log data. And it was just recently found out that the CEO of ArriveCan worked for the government at the National Department of Defense. In other words, there is a lot of fraud, and I think Bitcoin can fix it all. But the point is that states can hurt people in many ways. This isn't possible with Bitcoin because you have to ask people to put up money, whether it's for war or ArriveCan or something else, and most people wouldn't agree to spend money that way. I think it brings the force back into balance. But not everyone can walk away and vote. For whatever reason, some people have to stay. There's also the question of, can you leave? Because COVID taught us that people can be stopped from moving around. I believe that we need to work with governments at some point. We can't just run away. We can't just run away. We can only go to a certain number of places. It's possible for all of us to run away to El Salvador. What will happen to El Salvador then? If every country is a fiat country run by people who make money, and we're all in El Salvador, they could just nuke us or something. So we need to fight back and work to get more people on board with Bitcoin, where we are. Yes, and I think we'll get there just because we have to. At the end of the day, governments need money. If your money is empty, how can you keep an army ready to defend you if you can't pay the soldiers? In the past, there have been times when the government just couldn't pay the troops. You might need Bitcoin if the forces want it. So they have to have good money for the sake of the whole country. This is why many countries buy gold. They know that fiat money is just a game that could fall apart at any time. That's the reason they buy gold. Bitcoin is this brand new thing that could break at any time. That's the reason they're buying.